you do to me?
You're in deep shit right now.
The Forest Hills is a 2023 werewolf horror, or is it? So The Forest Hills, written and directed by Scott Goldberg, and is notable for the final film role of Shelley Duvall. You've also got the likes of Edward Furlong, Felissa Rose and Dee Wallace turn up for small roles in the film. And the story actually focuses on a guy called Rico, who is played by none of those actors. And he is a messed up individual. He has a history of abuse. He has mental illness, and at some point in his life he has suffered head trauma, which has made all of this worse. Now, Rico could be a werewolf, he could be a masked serial killer, he could be being harassed by a werewolf, or it could all be in his head. What will happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So yes, this movie follows Rico's perspective as his interactions with various people, and we have family members, friends, doctors and things like this, and it is from his perspective, and we see lots of possible theories about what this movie could be about. It's clearly about mental health, but it does leave it somewhat ambiguous as to what's actually going on. Let's discuss what works in this movie's favour. So this is a B movie having a stab at a more cerebral, psychological horror. Does it work in that respect? I gotta say, not mostly, but I appreciate the attempt, if that makes sense. Because this does try to present a vision of madness, shall we say that. And in that I do think the movie does succeed. The character of Rico does come across as someone who is mentally very, very unstable, and because of the throw the everything at the wall and see what sticks approach this movie employs, having all sorts of stuff going on screen, the movie has this disorientating element to it. So I think this movie, in a way, does succeed in portraying a level of madness that this character is experiencing, having, you know, all these kind of hallucinations, and he doesn't know what is real, we don't know what's real. But it does point to someone who is mentally very messed up. So in that it succeeds. It does have a serious tone to a degree, and a very sort of messed up scenario, the family relationship with this guy Rico, his sister and his mother, played by Shelley Duvall. And we kind of get flashbacks about when they were kids, and maybe some of the abuse, and it's pretty harsh. It never really goes into much detail as to why, but I will say that they've cast someone as the young version of the mother, who does kind of look like a young Shelley Duvall as well, I must say. There is a reasonable amount of gore and actual kills in this film. So how is that? It's actually done practically, and I gotta say, the gore makeup looks pretty good. The werewolf suit, there is a werewolf in it, and the suit is a practical suit. It's actually the same suit that you would have seen in a number of horror movies that you can actually buy commercially. But they do make these suits for films, but a lot of movies use this same design of suits. So the werewolf suit, I've got to say, is kind of looking somewhat similar and samey from many other kind of low-budget werewolf flicks these days, because I've seen it in a number of suits. Not this actual particular suit, but obviously the same design. But, you know, nonetheless, it's a cool-looking suit. And then, as I say, we get a kind of masked serial killer-looking kind of effect as well. And again, looks pretty cool. It's nice to see a reasonable amount of kind of recognisable faces turn up as kind of cameos here, small kind of roles. Some of which are kind of quite poignant, I will say. So there's that. You know, and on a technical level, I think it's kind of shot reasonably well. Edited, that's a different story. But at least it's kind of shot pretty well for the most part, I would suggest. But let's talk about what doesn't work. This movie is really unsure about, I think, what it's trying to say. I get that it's trying to portray a level of mental illness and how this one guy is basically seeing the world, and I guess that does succeed to a degree, but to us as a viewer, it seems really incoherent, and the movie never really settles on one thing. But what this movie does have a lot of is this one guy, Rico, a middle-aged hairy man screaming a lot at the camera. There's a hell of a lot of that. Mixed in with kind of scenes that could be flashbacks, that could be real. I mean, arguably you could say this movie is about lycanthropy, but we're talking the clinical version of lycanthropy, not the supernatural version, I suppose, which I think is probably... if you had to sort of push me on what this movie is actually about, I would say probably that. But it's never really clear about what's actually kind of going on, what's actually in his head. And I think this movie does a lot of things where it's repeating scenes or having very, very similar scenes. Like the Rico character wakes up and he's had, you know, from a kind of a dream, and it's been, what we've seen prior to that has been some sort of hallucination. It's like, okay, you know, we've done this like a couple of times now. Or he's on the phone to his doctor saying, oh, you know, I'm really messed up. And the doctor's saying, well, okay, well, have you got medication? Yes. Have you taken it? No. Well, maybe you should do that then. And he's like, I don't want to, but I'm suffering. And it's like, okay. And then that same scene happens again. And then it's sort of similar scene happens like again. It's like, this movie feels like it's sort of stuck in a time loop, to be honest. You know, he's running around with various different people, some of which are, who's this person? And it's like, sometimes you feel like it's kind of contradicting itself. Like we see a scene at the beginning of the movie where the mother seems to be trying to kill her two children, Rico as a young boy and his sister. But we don't know why. We don't know the reasons for that. It's never really explained. And it makes it sound like the sister died. But then we see the sister as an adult. It's suggested that they are Rico's adopted, but at the same time the mother is talking to Rico about their bloodline and how it's special. It's like, what the hell is going on in this movie? So it's kind of really like trying to be lots of things at once. All of these things. Here's loads of possibilities about what's kind of going on. Has this Rico killed a bunch of people? Has it just become... is it all in his head? Has he killed people as a werewolf? Has he killed people as a kind of just a deranged killer? Or is there another werewolf out there? It just, you know, you don't really know by the end of it. It's just kind of like, oh, lots of possibilities. Now, this might sound like it's kind of like trying to be a deep philosophical look at someone's fractured mind, and you know, this could be an interesting film in some respects, you know, if it was an introspective movie with solid writing and solid acting, but it doesn't have either of those. The acting, I've got to say, is on the poorer side, because this movie leans so heavily onto the kind of the prospect that this is probably a mental illness more than anything else. This needs to be sold by solid acting. And I've got to say, because this movie's trying to be like this serious take on this subject, the acting by our main character, the guy who plays Rico, just isn't good enough. It's just not good enough. He's not a particularly strong actor. And some of the smaller roles around him as well are not good enough, you know, and are not strong either. So we don't have particularly strong acting. And as I say, the writing here is incoherent. It's not taking you as the viewer on for the ride. It's basically throwing loads of stuff and it's weird, isn't it? Like, wow, what's going on? It's just kind of like, okay, I understand this is a confusing mess of a film and it's trying to say that this is kind of a representative of what this guy's mind has, but it's not telling us a story, really. And there's this choppy editing where it's like, it's too many times, it's kind of like these quick cut scenes and has he killed someone? No, it's a kind of hallucination, or is it? Who is this person? You just don't know, you know, and it's like, you know, people seem to be quite blasé, if you are to believe some of the killings about, oh, we've just killed someone, let's just put them in a bin bag and hide it, you know, things like this. So I've got to say, I think this movie's intent was interesting, and I think the idea is ambitious, and certainly there could have been a more interesting movie pulled out of this, but the movie that we've got is very messy. And I have to say, not particularly engaging. It's 3 out of 10 for me. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.